Hey guys, welcome back to Midsa Creek Farm. I had mentioned in a previous video that I am pruning a different way this year, and the sole reason for doing this is because last fall, early this spring, I was looking at my tomato plants and I thought, I wonder if I prune these the opposite way everybody says to prune tomatoes, if it will actually be more productive than pruning the typical way of picking off all the suckers. I had a lot of comments on a video where I talked about sun gold tomatoes, and they said I was pruning them too much. I need to not prune off the suckers. And so that kind of got me thinking throughout this whole process. So this year I am pruning differently. Sometimes I am pruning off the suckers on some of the plants just because the plants are too big. I don't know if you can see, that's 3 beds behind me. So it's like 15 feet behind me. And they are that tall. They're almost to the purlins. And so they are probably 10 feet tall. I think the purlins are 12 feet. I'm not 100% positive though. So I thought I would show you guys how I'm doing this. I seem to be getting a lot more tomatoes. It seems to be working. Is it just that the new beds and the growing season is better this year? It could be. The shade cloth on the high tunnel is actually making it so that things don't ripen nearly as quickly. I went and I untied it and I kind of pulled it back a little bit so we're partially covered in shade cloth, and that seems to be making a really big difference. I've noticed things are starting to turn a lot quicker now, so that is good. But let me show you how I am pruning tomatoes. So these tomatoes here, these are probably like a San Marzano or a Roma type tomato. I'm not quite sure, but this was the perfect example of what I am doing. So you can see I've pruned really well, and because I want to get more light into here and I'm trying to get more fruit off of here, what I'm doing is I am actually going through and I'm cutting off the branches. And then when you come here to the sucker, I'm not cutting off the sucker. So I'm actually just cutting off the main leaf branches and I'm leaving most of the suckers. But like in this situation, I might actually cut this guy off in a little bit just because this is pretty tight in here. But as the plants grow, I'm just going through and I'm cutting off these bottoms. So then the fruit has airflow, it can get some sunshine, and the plants seem to be growing a lot quicker and they're a lot taller. And I am, you can see, getting quite a few clusters of fruit off of each plant. So like this one here, I've got one there, one there, one there. It looks like there's gonna be another cluster here. And then, oh no, that's from a different one. So theoretically, the sucker will have some. This is where it splits. There's some here. There's gonna be a cluster there. It's got a little one right there. There's gonna be another cluster there. And then all of the suckers off of these, like this, will theoretically produce. So this is my bed of semi-indeterminates, and this is a Tasmanian chocolate. Pretty much everything else is prairie fire. I was just gonna let this one go crazy, but I planted them too close together. I did notice there are a couple berries crazy cherry in here. But look at all those ripe ones. They're looking good. So I'm pruning these guys that way. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of comments about this, about how I'm doing it wrong. But if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you know that we bought this property 8 years ago. I have zero growing experience. This is all kind of new to me, and I do things very different. I do things different for how it works for me. That's why I use a lot of ground cover so that I'm not spending all my time weeding. And I really wanted to increase my yields on my tomatoes, and I wanted to see if this would work. I'm curious, I like to learn, and if I can find a better way of doing something, I think what I'll probably end up doing next year is tweaking it and doing a variety of pruning some suckers and some branches, but pruning the branches down at the bottom seems to really be helping the process of speeding up the ripening process, because we should have had ripe tomatoes about 2 weeks ago. It's been super overcast, super cloudy, plus I have shade cloth, so it has been pretty dark in here. And so for me, it was something where I needed to figure out how to get sunlight onto these tomatoes, otherwise they'll be green for ages. So that seems to really have done the trick. And then just took off part of the shade cloth, like I said earlier, and I have so many tomatoes that are now blushing, where before it was a handful here and there. So over here, these are all cherry tomatoes, Brad's Atomic Grape tomatoes, that kind of stuff. And so you can see my vines with all of my fruit on them. And you can see, let's see, so this is one vine. It splits way down there, so it comes up and you can just see all that fruit on them, and it seems to really be making a big difference. Now I am finding that I am having to trellis a lot more because they seem to be growing a lot more. And that's probably because I've taken off the leaves, the branches down at the bottom, and they help with photosynthesis. And so the plants are growing more up at the top because they are replacing the branches that I've cut off down at the bottom. So it seems to me like it's making the plants grow quicker. But, you know, it could just be the weather. It's finally warm and sunny. I have no clue. So it just is one of those things. I'm making notes of my observations and I'm just testing it out. And I'm really happy with how they're looking. So now it just is a matter of getting things to ripen. And pretty soon we will be overloaded with tomatoes, which is a very good thing. That is it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.